When most people think of snakes, they experience unrest and commonly fear. In this speech, I'll discuss the care of most boa constrictors. However, care may slightly differ from species to species. I'll explain how snakes can be and are very satisfying and enjoyable pets to own. So first I'll talk about cage setup. The first thing you want to do is get the appropriate size tank, and that depends on the size of the snake you have, so what age it is depends. Usually about until a year, they can be in a 10-gallon tank because they don't like that much room. They like to small quarters. Next, you need to think about what substrate you want, which is the bedding pretty much. They don't really care, but if you want your cage to look nice, you should use wood chips or special made mossy bedding, but you could also use like newspaper if you were lazy or something. Depends on how you want the cage to look. And then another important thing is the warm spot and the cold spot in the cage. So one side of the cage needs to be warm and the other side needs to be cool, because snakes can't thermoregulate themselves, or their body doesn't thermoregulate themselves. So they have to use outside sources to regulate their heat. Another important thing is the humidity in the cage, since they come from tropical regions like my Colombian red-tailed boa. So just spray down the cage every few days so it's a little bit humid in there. And then the next important thing is the hide, which is where they can hide away and be in the darkness and be hidden, I guess. And then you need a water bowl.
So that's a process. Yeah,
okay. The next thing is feeding. So first thing to think about when feeding is the size of the food. To know how big of food you need, the snake can only eat something the size that it's the biggest width of the snake is the biggest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The biggest width of the snake is how big it can eat. So you can choose to feed live or frozen thawed. It's up to you. And also the snake might like live better and might not eat already dead mouse. It's important to take the snake out of the cage, because if you feed them in the cage, every time you put your hand in the cage, even if you just want to play with them, they'll think you're food and they might bite you. And it's important to use tongs, so when they strike the food, you aren't bitten. And it's important that you make sure the snake bites the mouse head first so it can swallow it properly. And you only feed it once a week, and then after you feed it, don't handle it for about 10 or so hours so they can digest properly. And the next part is handling, which is the cool part. So handling, you go about it, you get them out of their cage by going behind them and not in front of their face, which makes them feel more comfortable. And just gently grab them out and try to support their whole body, because they don't like just hanging there. And just handle them gently and let them do their thing and have a good time with them. And in conclusion, snakes are just cool and pretty low maintenance pets to have. They're fun to handle and show off, and they make great pets.